In Chapter 7, we're going to be working through probability, and in order to calculate probabilities, we need to be able to know the number of ways that you can complete some task. So, combinatorics is the study of the different outcomes of whatever tasks that we have. So, if our task is to flip a coin, the outcomes for that is either going to be heads or tails. This means there are two different outcomes that you could possibly have. If you want to toss a six-sided die, a standard six-sided die, you have the outcomes of getting either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 as your outcome. So that means there are 6 different outcomes, 6 different possibilities that we could have when you complete that task of rolling the six-sided die. Another example here is to list and then count the number of different possible outcomes of selecting one letter from the word Mississippi. Well, if I want to select one letter from this word, my possible options that I could have would be M, or we could select an I, we could select an S, or we could select a P. Those are the only different letters that I could choose from the word Mississippi. This means that this task has 4 outcomes. The next part here for our probability, we have a lot of definitions that we are going to need, so let's work through the definitions here. To start, we have an experiment, and this is simply just an activity with an observable outcome. It's essentially like what I was calling our task. We're doing some activity and it's got an outcome. So selecting one letter from the word Mississippi, that is like an experiment. The sample space is the list of all possible outcomes of the experiment. So in that last example with the word Mississippi, the sample space is the letters M, I, S, and P. Those would all be in the sample space. And then lastly, the event is one or more outcomes of an experiment. So maybe I have an event where I want to select the letter S from the word Mississippi. Anything that would be that possibility is then one of my options there for this event. And the other thing here with events is that it is always a subset of our sample space, meaning we're only able to grab from the sample space to put things in the event. We can't have something be in the event and it's not in the sample space. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so an example, we are going to toss a single-sided, six-sided die, and our sample space, I'm going to call this S, and we usually write this in set notation here, where we're going to have curly brackets. And then I can list my different outcomes that I could get from this die. So we could get a 1, we could get a 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 6. So those are the 6 different options that we could have in our sample space when we roll the die. So now the next one, I want to list some different events. The first one is the event that the die shows an even number. So in the event where it's an even number, that means I'm going to take a look at my sample space and choose my options that are even. And we have 2, 4, and 6. Those are the only even options from the sample space, so those are the 3 outcomes that are in this event. The next one, I want the event that shows a number less than 4. So this event, I'm going to grab the things from my sample space that are less than 4. And that's going to be 1, 2, and 3. So those are in that event. And then lastly, I want the event where the die shows a number divisible by 3. Divisible by 3 means that I can divide it by 3 and get back a whole number. So in this one, if I take 1 and divide that by 3, that's not a whole number. Same thing with 2. 2 over 3 is not a whole number. But 3 over 3 simplifies to 1, so 3 is divisible by 3. 4, I can't divide that by 3. 5 can't be divided by 3, but 6, that can be divided by 3. So my 2 things in this event are 3 and 6. All of the experiments that we did in this video, all of the examples, were what we call single stage experiments. That's because we're only doing one thing. We were only flipping the coin once when we had heads or tails at the beginning. We were only rolling the 6-sided die once. We were only selecting one letter from the word Mississippi with that. So we were only doing one thing. There is a single outcome for all of these. In the next video, we're going to take a look at some 2-stage experiments and working through the table to be able to write our sample space with those.